Our next session is panel discussion. The topic is improving school communication and collaboration using technologies. We will try to learn what the vision for a 24th century higher education institution should be and how you can create and work on one. For this session, I would like to invite the esteemed panelists, Mr. Kanak Gupta. Mr. Kanak Gupta is Vice President at Seth MR Jaipuria Schools. Under his leadership, the group started schools expansion in 2014, and in less than 2 years, there are 15 schools across the country already functional. There are plans to open 50 K-12 schools pan-India. Mrs. Madhumita Roy Chowdhury. She has more than 17 years of experience in the education field, which includes teaching, heading the department, curriculum development, affiliation processing, implementation and integration of innovative curriculum, coordination, team building, pedagogical leadership, and administration. Her teaching experience includes teaching in different international curriculum like IB, IGCSE, levels in school across India. Her faculty is physics, and educational qualification is MPhil, MBA, and B.Ed. Currently, she is working as a dean in Prudence International School, Panvel, Mumbai. Mr. Harish Iyer, founder and CEO, Flinnt Concept I Connect Private Limited. Mr. Harish Iyer is an educationalist, tech evangelist, and outdoor enthusiast. Mr. Harish Iyer he started his first entrepreneurial venture, Concept EduServe Private Limited, working on a domain of training, consulting, and English language assessment. His exposure to teaching, learning practices of educators, and their use of technology brought him to Flintt. He has been providing his services as a consultant to University of Cambridge International Examinations. He has UK for conducting pre-approval visits to schools seeking affiliation. He has also published 2 research papers for Azim Premji Teachers University and All India Management Association. Would you please give me a big hand? Ms. Apekshita Varshney, Head Marketing, NIT. Ms. Apekshita Varshney wants to work towards securing every child's future with education. A journalism graduate from Jai Hind College, Mumbai University, she knows the impact of words and the importance of communication. Apekshita has worked with organizations like Hindustan Times, United Nations, White Print, India's first lifestyle magazine for the visually impaired, and is currently heading marketing and content for net messaging. Would you please give them a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. And our moderator will be Mr. Utkat Lukesh.
So as he said, communication in schools has changed in the past few years, and institutions are devoting increasing amounts of resources towards connecting with students as well as parents. So in this panel discussion, we'll talk about how you can impact student success by improving communications on campus. And you will learn about the growing role of communications on student success and the crucial role communication tools might play. So I would like to begin with Mr. Harish here. And how do you think communication has changed in the past few years? What role has technology adoption played in the same?
I see 3 major changes: timing, quantum, and purpose. Timing in the sense that if I look at it from a school's perspective, that a syllabus would be shared at the beginning of the year. From that time to the syllabus being delivered even on a monthly or a weekly basis, even as a reminder. So the timing of getting the information at the time of use is one thing, and that is possible because technology is there. Otherwise it was impossible to deliver it on just in time kind of a philosophy. Second is quantum. I think information, because it is possible to deliver it often in more frequent manner, it is possible to bring down the quantum of information to an amount that can be processed and consumed immediately. And the third is purpose. When I see purpose, it is from communication, the access of information on need, to using communication as a tool for engagement. I think these are the three major changes, and all three are possible because technology permits instant, interactive communication.
Absolutely. So in the context of a school administration, Ms. Madhumita, it can be very fast-paced and detail-oriented with many decisions, might be big or small, but how do you think technology has helped your school for better communication and collaboration?
Well, being an educator and administrator over a decade and a half, I have seen a paradigm shift in the entire education as well as the communication system. It's incredible that how technology is blended in our day-to-day operation, starting from the entry in the gate, which is just a touch of the fingertip on a device, to our entire administration, which deals with accounts, admission, recruitment, parents' communication, and needless to say, in the academics. If I may speak about my school, Prudence International School, which has dedicated its cause to eco-friendliness, and hence it demands the paperless community. And it's only possible through the technology. In our school, we have a complete software solution for dealing with the accounts, admissions, parents' communication regularly. And in the classroom scenario in academics, we use the digital classroom. We use the Skype lecturing, online video lectures. And very interestingly, what we have started, we have downloaded the video lectures, and when there is some substitution class goes on, instead of substituting the teachers, we have a audiovisual class where the video lectures of that particular subject, particular topic has been taught. So I can see that, you know, technology is everywhere. It's just not a revolution, like an evolution of the entire community with technology. I think it clears your question.
Definitely.
Thank you.
So Mr. Kanak, she talked about the technology implementation across schools, but like, what's your take on implementing such technologies as investment versus cost, and what are the advantages you have leveraged in your schools using technology?
Right. So I strongly believe that you can take teaching and learning out of the classroom, but you cannot take the teacher out of the classroom. I think the teacher should be enabled to use technology in a very, very efficient manner, so as there is teaching and learning happening, but teachers are using technology better. That is very, very important. Learning is obviously happening all over the place. Technology has enabled it. I think that's very important as well. Advent of technology is for all of us to see. As a cost versus investment decision, as what you said, it's very important for school management to understand that top line and bottom line, which I know all of the academicians here are always worried about, the management pressure that there has to be the top line and bottom line. And hate saying it, but admissions still is a holy cow of our system. That mentality probably needs to change when it comes to technology implementation. We need to look at it from a perspective of investment rather than cost. Technology is becoming cheaper. More importantly, I think there cannot be a blanket statement that if a particular system works in, say, a Madhumita school, might not be applicable to an XYZ school, because that school would have its own challenges, own needs, and technology should be developed accordingly. So there should be a seamless integration of technology in the operational processes of a particular school. Only then you would start getting the benefits of that technology in your school. That's when the school management will start seeing. Now, for example, all of us have in our schools attendance management systems. We all use it effectively, on the tablets, on the phones, on computers. That's very good. If it is not applicable to your school, if it does not add value, well, I don't think you should use it. But if you think that there is a value add, that's when you start seeing the investment. We need to stop worrying about the top line and the bottom line. I think we need to start looking at the operational integration of technology. I think that seamless integration, that's when the return on investment in the true sense would start coming in.
Absolutely. You talked about some of the use cases in your school. So I would continue from there and ask Ms. Apekshita if she can quote some of the real-life case studies which show the effectiveness of modern technologies as a communication tool.
Right. Good morning to one and all present here. I'm quite delighted to be with a panelist as knowledgeable as them and in front of an audience as knowledgeable as you. Now, I was a student not too long ago, and I'm going to bring to this table perspectives of students, because I think it's very important for us to know what students and what the youth is thinking today. He asked me about a case study of communication as such and how communication plays an important role. I think growing up in an urbanized society as ours, I honestly believe that the involvement of parents in schooling needs to be encouraged. We need to make sure that parents know what's happening in a child's school, because a child can only excel when he's assured that his home is a learning center in itself. So I know of this little girl who's in the 4th standard, and she's a brilliant guitar player, and she aces at all her math exams. So recently what happened is that her final exams were coming close, and so was her annual day competition. And she had to kind of choose between guitar practices and math classes. And this little girl was scared to go back home and tell her mom that, you know, this is what's happening, because she would feel that her mom would make her choose math over guitar. But what happens is that we run this application called NIT messaging, which sends regular updates to parents about schools, because teachers themselves send updates to parents that this is what's happening in class. So both the teachers informed the parent that this is what's happening, your classes are clashing. And the mother kind of got in touch with the math teacher and told her that this is the scene, so what are we supposed to do now? And the math teacher surprisingly said that, you know what, your child aces in math because she has her music. So if you take away her music, she's not going to do well in her math. So you know what, I'm going to change my math classes timings for her. So you know, a little girl would not probably meet her mother and tell her that this is what I want to do. But if a parent themselves can get to know what's in the child's mind and get in touch with educators themselves, because ultimately educators and parents both want the best for their child. So I think communication makes a huge difference like that.
So definitely.
So very interestingly, Apekshita talked about a kid, trying to learn guitar and mathematics. Over coffee, Harish and I were discussing this morning and what he called the Shahrukh Khan Dil Mange More effect, whereby parents come to our schools and they talk about, my kid should play the guitar, be good in mathematics, act like Amitabh Bachchan, play cricket like Sachin Tendulkar, be an Einstein, all of it at the same time. And you're not talking about a class 7, class 8, class 9 kid, but you're talking about a kid who's 6 years old in class 1. That's the kind of pressure so that expectation needs to be set right. I don't think that parents are wrong to expect that much. You want your kid to do well, but as academicians, as leaders at schools, we need to set that expectation right. And I'm very glad to hear what happened at the school that Apekshita was talking about. I think that is what, the right kind of communication, that needs to go. Instead of the bubbly Shahrukh Khan effect, as Harish, sorry to steal it from you, but yeah, the bubbly Shahrukh Khan effect, probably the expectation needs to be set right.
Definitely. Yeah, sure. In fact, I wanted to know if the feedback has been similar for tools like Flintt as well.
Yeah. See, what we have seen is that there is a larger trend in the society of being a part of the conversation that is happening. So, for example, when the volcano eruption was there, that Anurag talked about, so that would be a part of the conversation in the society. Now, with such communication platforms, teachers are able to engage with their students by weaving in those same conversations into their classroom context. For example, the floods in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat was there, or the flood in West Bengal was there recently. So the IPL was there last March, Feb. We saw a lot of teachers weaving in the events that are happening around them and weaving it in the context of a geography lesson or a math lesson. And that is what I think is very, very interesting, because the conversations that we as adults have on a Facebook, Twitter, they are all around these events that are happening around us. Now those same events and those same conversations can start becoming a part of the academic part. The challenge in the conventional system, where not conventional or traditional, but in a face-to-face is we have a sequence and structure that we can't really do anything about. You know, when you get into a class, you have a chapter to do. But with such communication platforms, some kind of an asynchronous learning can also happen. Within the broader context of the syllabus, their teachers take short detours, and that is what is very interesting for me.
So Madhumita, what he just mentioned, like he mentioned about the use cases specifically. So do you think, like, at the end of the day, is it somewhere improving the learning outcomes for students as well? Like, what's your view on that?
See, I don't think that students' outcome can solely be dependent on the technological or, as you say, the communicative, collaborative, technological environment. But yes, it can be an effective technological and collaboration environment. It can surely, especially these days, 21st century students, when they are highly digitally inclined. Let's say, giving an example, when you have an effective technological environment, like a live Skype lecture from a professor from anywhere in the globe, it might help us students to learn the topic better than whatever is happening here, or a video lecture from a great institute. If you think of the e-library, when students are doing the project together with no time and with no actual physical library and resources, they can do it much better and much shorter time. In that way, you know, if we think the student's outcome, in that way it is really helping. Besides that, in our school, we, as Apekshita also was mentioning, the students' day-to-day performance, not only the academics, but also the extracurricular, the social disposition, the personality attributes of each child is transpired to the parents as well as to the students. So they can refer to that and they can work on this. In that way, I think technology to some extent can improve the student's outcome, if not fully.
And yeah. Yeah, sure.
Technology. I was part of a school where every classroom was allowed to be seen by the parent through the internet. Everyone. And the parents started questioning the teacher, why did you ask this question to my student? Why did you ask that question to my student? And I was
standing as a board member answering them. Teacher ने इस तरीके से हाथ दिखाया था, my child got scared and she's got 0 on the maths exam.
Okay.
This really happened, and this is a fact which I am aware of. So firstly, the intrusive parent, especially in urban schools, is a reality.
Yeah.
The parent, you are lucky. The guitar and the maths thing went off very well. Somebody explained. I would have thought that, you know, having spoken to the famous Pulela Gopichand, the man who initially trained Sania, he said, I do not want urban parents to come with me for training. They are there every 20 minutes, they want to give a glass of water. They say, this has got to be patterned. If you don't train for 6 hours, you won't even come halfway close to Sania. So how do we get the balance right? Every parent now today, in what Anurag said, a less trusty society, especially India, they want to know everything the child is doing. In one case, I was told that you can even have these video cameras in restrooms. So question one is, where do we trust the teacher? The teacher becomes, an insecure teacher becomes even less trustworthy, and the parent will start remote controlling the school. Is that what we want? just a provocative question.
I think Kanak, my question was similar.
I think you are actually, the question was how students' outcome can be improved. So in that case, I never told that each and every scenario of the school should be transparent, should be transpired to the parents. I have said where the students' outcome, how the students socially, personally, and academics, extracurricular, where they stand, that report is transferred. I think in that way, they are satisfied.
No,
it's not that the CCTV should be transpired.
I agree with what
Kanak,
you said.
Kanak, would you like to step on the challenges that you face as well? Because
Sure.
that.
So first of all, I think I agree with you on the thing you said about cameras in the classroom. Personally, I'm not in favor of something like that. I don't think that a teacher should be monitored or guided, remote controlled as the word you used. But there was a very interesting word that Madhumita used, collaboration. I think we are moving towards a collaborative learning environment. I think we should move towards, and I think Anurag mentioned it in his keynote as well, that we should not look at a teacher-centric or a school-centric education system. We should look more at a student-centric education system. I think that's fairly fair. So where do you draw the line? How do you strike a balance? The school has to take a call on that as to what challenges we face. Sir, we face similar challenges when parents come and they try to dictate terms. It's not being polite customer service to drive them away, but it's not in the interest of the child also it's not the interest of the child also to let the parents dictate terms.
Parent or the student as a customer, you know, that's an oxymoron, sir.
No.
Honestly, because a student coming to school, if India has to be a society, the world has to be a society. It cannot be parent-driven. I personally know many students at 5th standard show us pornography. Customer desires it, give it to him. So, is that the way? So the
Absolutely
point
not.
is, the term customer, which is bandied about everywhere, I'm a former army officer, I somehow wish to take my gun and shoot at people when they talk customer. It doesn't work in a school-centric environment if we want to create the citizens of tomorrow. Sorry, it was an aside. The customer term doesn't work in a school system.
I think you're not understanding my point. I'm saying that, I don't think it is required. So we are in agreement on that point as well. I'm not saying that it is required. I'm saying schools are doing it.
No, you said it is not polite customer behavior. That was the term used. The fundamental term of being a customer, I'm being aggressive. Sorry, please continue.
No, sure. I just hope you don't have a gun, sir. But yeah, I think we are in agreement over there. I think it is not polite customer service in the strict business context. However, I don't think schools should do it. I think this is where, as academicians, we should have that judgment to draw the line, to not let schools be dictated.
I think, there will be all sort of argument about technology integration, impact of technology on learning and teaching. The way forward will be as the world is seeing now. Certain formal protocols get accepted and agreed at the initial stage when the parent admits the child. You see, schools cannot absolve themselves of the responsibility they will have. Schools will remain a moral arm. They will have a higher order thinking all the time. So no matter what happens in the society, though the fact is that school is a mirror of a society. What gets reflected in the school. But you cannot take away the responsibility of being there as a high moral ground. So therefore, you need to develop certain initial protocols which are readily agreed between parent and the school and which becomes binding. So therefore, then you will know the extent of what you do and what is expected.
Perfectly added, in fact. So Apekshita, have you faced similar challenges while talking to schools and parents maybe?
You were talking about balance. You were initially mentioning how a teacher-parent balance can be kind of maintained. Let me tell you that there was this, before we started NIT messaging, which is a parent-teacher communication app, and it's a one-way messaging app in which teachers are in control of sending messages and parents cannot respond back. This is something we experimented with in a time where chatting applications are so common. This is because that there was a teacher who tried to make a WhatsApp group to kind of keep all her students' parents informed. And that WhatsApp group, like all of us must be a part of many, was filled with good morning, good afternoon, good evening messages and queries being popped at her at all times of the day. So this is why we thought that, you know, I mean, teacher is doing as much as he or she can, is what we like to believe. And this is why let's give some kind of control to the teacher to inform parents what's happening and have the control of the communication. Because that way, parents would take a step back and feel that, okay, I'm getting the updates. Let me try and help my child at home. This is something we think can actually help.
So from a school context, Madhumita and Kanak, I would like to just ask briefly, what has been the feedback by teachers when you talk about using this?
Feedback, see, everybody loves technology because it makes the life easier. This is universal truth. You know, the class, a biology teacher, she takes 5 minutes to draw a picture on the board, and if it can be shown digitally, it takes the time. It takes away the time. So everybody loves, and so does teachers also. But yeah, we have a percentage, certain percentage of teacher, those who are not so-called tech savvy. In that way, you know, we have to educate the teachers. And I haven't found, especially in our school, that teachers have any problem of communication to the parents and get the feedback. Because they can work, feedback is always taken positively, and if they get the feedback more often, it is easier for them to, you know, to work on that. In my school, at least, I have found that.
So I think what I said earlier as well, the expectation as to what is required of the teacher, that needs to be set. What do you expect? Like, so very recently, I'd share this example. Very recently, I interviewed a teacher who was with one of the leading chains of the country. And he spoke to me about how he got married and he was on his honeymoon, and he was mandated by the school that since you're going to the UK for 20 days, make sure that you visit all the historical sites, take videos, upload it on real time, send it to the school so that the counterparts could actually use it in the classroom. I mean, that is sort of pushing the envelope for the teacher. Poor guy is going for his honeymoon. But like that kind of mandate, you need to set the benchmark. You need to, not the benchmark, you need to actually set expectation from the teacher that, you know, what exactly do you want to do when you're using technology. And
as also Dr. Vasil mentioned about setting the, right from the start.
Right from the start. I think it's very, very important. If we do not do that, that's when problems, what was being mentioned earlier, that, you know, parents encroaching onto the school. There is some resistance from the teachers when you have complex systems such as school management systems, ERPs coming in, because probably the data entry is obviously tedious. Teachers have a lot of responsibilities otherwise as well, which is acceptable. I think school management needs to be aware of it, that, you know, there will be some problems getting systems up and running. However, it should be in the interest of the school. That's what needs to be done.
So my last question would be to just a common question.
What both panelists have been talking about, just 1% of the schools that are existing in India. How about the other schools? You don't have this kind of technology. How can you put technology there? And my another question is, what is digital technology? Can somebody explain to me? What is digital technology? Can somebody define it?
I'll answer the first question first. When we look at technology reaching, you're saying it has reached 1%, I would say even less than 1%. I would agree with that. Because it's a very, very small number when we talk about technology interventions coming into the school system. But at the same time, we need to be aware of how fast it can change. For example, if I look at...
It can change very fast.
It can change very fast. So that's...
How to implement in the rural schools? The other 99% of the schools. And what are you going to implement there?
You see, I'll take what Anurag's take was, that we are not Smriti Irani. Because when it comes to public schools, no. What I meant to say is, correct. No. When I look at public schools, how technology will enter those schools, government-aided schools, I would find it very difficult to answer. But if I talk about myself, from my own experience, I'm from Flintt, and Flintt is a communication platform. So we have a school in a place called Bardoli. Now, Bardoli is a semi-urban kind of an area, and we find that there is usage. We find, of course, Tirupati is a much bigger center than, I'm not just talking about tier 1, tier 2. I'm talking about cities which are tier 3, even smaller towns. Bigger urban villages are also coming on to internet-based communication technology. When this is now getting into the answer of your second question. When you say digital, digital can be many. Yes.
See, I've had some good schools also.
Yes.
Very good schools also and excellent schools. But presently I'm heading Gurukul schools in Haryana.
Right.
Group of schools.
Right.
Where we have rural children.
Yes.
The parents are not even educated. They are first generations. They don't know how to read SMS.
Perfect.
That's where my question is, how would you expand your ICT there? And in what way?
We are just beginning to work with an NGO in Ahmedabad, and they have visually challenged people. So the issue of reading is a problem, although they are urban people, urban-centric, but because they are visually challenged, they can't. So they are using tools which are inbuilt into apps which help read out the message. So I agree to the extent that right now, the kind of stage at which technology is, it is still sort of wire fencing a certain segment of the population. But we are getting a lot of inclusive things coming up. Yes, please.
Raghu, just keep it a little brief.
Yeah, thank you. There are two things happening in parallel. One, technologists doing something to school, I belong to their tribe, and technology doing something to education. To keep things very short, technologists are not reaching the schools which are very, very remote or not funded. But what technology is actually doing, and yesterday itself I was sitting with Professor Rajaram S. Sharma in CIET and NCRT, they told me that they are working on a massively open online course which is already underway, which can be viewed on the cheapest of the smartphones, and it is being developed in 29 major languages of India. So technology is doing this to education, and there is no barrier in terms of the access, because even the remote children do have at least group access to technology which can teach them. Yes, technologists like us are yet to go to the schools which are underprivileged. Two phenomena going on in parallel.
Yes.
Please.
Agreed. Very true.
The answer should be twofold. Please do recognize technology intervention in schools which are remote, where you don't have access to resources, is going to be by default. You like it or you don't like it. It's a simple example. When you're on the roadside, you believe that you're not going to be impacted. When the road at any point in time is infinity. At some point in time when you do the widening of the road, you will be knocked. The question is whether the reach is there or not, but this is something which is going to impact us. So you have two choices. Either you live in that slumber and say, oh, when it comes, I'll see to it. Or is there a way that I will take head on? It will be there. I mean, look at how many people have today mobile in India. That is going to be the only device which is going to change the education landscape. So therefore, this question of how it is going to impact the lesser segment of the society where there are no resources. You are not into technology. I'll give you an example. I have been to schools in India. I have seen the interventions. One of the interventions in UP when Akhilesh was supposed to give those tablets. And I happened to go to some of the state resource centers, and I had a dialogue with the chief secretary. I was talking to him. I said, what do you do with these tablets? Now the question is, one side is done. Okay, hardware is given, you have spent the money. What happens next? They have no idea. Okay, who is going to use it? Students? Who is going to do the intervention? Teachers? How do you train teachers? I went to State Resource Center. It's a one big dilapidated hall with a blackboard and a chalk. So these are, these are disconnection. These are, gaps in our understanding. The focus should be that, do we really have the integration of technology? It's not using technology. Do you know how to integrate technology? And without even integrating technology, do we understand
how the pedagogies have changed. What are the minimal implications inside the classroom? Are we ready? Do we have the necessary skills? So there are a lot more questions when it comes to Indian educational landscape, the skill sets of the teachers, the curriculum of the teachers. I mean, there are a whole host of issues revolving around. It's a loop like a structure. You keep going round and round. You're not finding the answer. So you have to now isolate them and say, what is the easy reach for me? I think technology definitely is an answer. The understanding should be what kind of technology, right technology.
And also I think what maybe Apekshita or Harish mentioned about the intent and purpose as well, what he's mentioning. So if that is clear, then the whole, you can say the circle can be completed.
No, see, the digital understanding and digital knowledge is critical in today's world for two reasons for educators who are heading the school. They need to understand, suppose if I have a budget of 5 lakh, if you don't know what to spend and how to spend, how rightly spend, it can go waste. I have seen schools with some fancy labs. I can assure you that it's not typical India also. I have been to UK, some of the most, I would say, technology-driven schools. Even the smart board usage is 30%.
True.
Do you call it technology school? It's not a question of having resource. Do you really know what you need? Now, can I think of a highly digital lab in a rural Indian school where they're still at the infancy of using technology? So therefore, the educators must use, they must have the, besides financial literacy, they must have digital literacy. What is the level of digital intervention I'm going to bring to my school, which is going to be effective, meaningful, and going to make change? I hope I made a point.
I would just, I was planning to just take questions from the audience, so I would just request if we can take it offline because we are running a little late, like more, not little, I think 25 minutes late.
There is one point where parents are not aware, but there is a very significant change happening through SMS and digitalization. We have fishermen able to access SMS for their catches who are not educated. We have parents who are saying this information, I get it from the market, because of which they are accessing digital technology. And I think Dr. Kalam has written about it in this recent book which is being released. So there is one leap across spectrums at several places. We have rural schools where there is a leap where the first, second, third phase of digitalization has not impacted. They are simply straight away jumping into video. And looking at a video, the parent and the child are learning together. So those are things which are happening with, as you said, by default, for which we have no control. So a parent not necessarily educated does not access technology, doesn't happen. They do access technology. That's the point I wanted to make.
And across the board, there's a lot of development happening with Internet of Things, with MOOCs. A lot of things are happening even without the intervention of the HRD. So yeah, that is probably going to help as well.
I think for today's discussion, it's very important for us to segregate two things. One is using technology for communication and information, which is your cameras and your SMSs. The other is talking about bringing technology into the classroom for leveraging it into the learning process, right? So I think our discussion should focus on the second part more today, you know, than on, we are not trying to figure out how we'll communicate. If we are doing a good work, we are doing our job in our schools, it will be communicated to the community and to the parents. Yeah, let's focus all our energy on the second part as to how to leverage technology in the learning process. I think that'll help. We'll say we'll catch up on those 25 minutes which we have lost. Thank you.
Sure. So thanks a lot to all the panelists and also to the engaging audience. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all the panelists for such a knowledgeable discussion. We would like to felicitate the panelists on the behalf of EdTechReview and ELC partner. Mr. Utkarsh, would you please do the honors, please? Mr. Kanak Gupta. Okay. Ms. Madhumita Roy Chowdhury. Mr. Kanak Gupta. Ms. Apekshita Varshney. Mr. Harish Iyer.